Hey, I'm Ivan.
And I'm April, and this is our DIY tiny house, and we live in Cocoa, Florida.
So when we bought this, it was a shell. We moved from California, bought the tiny house in Orlando, moved the shell over to St. Augustine, and it was infested with bees. So for about a couple weeks, we lived in a tent inside the house until we drywalled it, insulation, all that good stuff.
We live here at Peacewind Tiny Home Community. We purchased our lot and it cost $45,000.
So what we enjoy about this community is the neighbors, financial freedom, the owners, they're awesome.
We love having a safe community for the kids, a safe space for them to grow up and thrive.
So starting with the outside of our house, we have our chicken coop. I believe we have 16 at the moment, 2 roosters. Growing up, my dad has always had chickens and goats, so figured I'd bring that along and share it with my kids. I love it. I actually love the chickens. I go in there and pet them all the time. And on this side, we have the deck that I built out of pallets. I actually got these pallets from work. I work at ABC Supply, so we're a roofing company. So we're loaded with pallets. So I asked my manager if I can have some pallets, and he said, take what you need. It's a nice place to hang out and have lunch, have dinner.
And on this side of our yard, we have our trampoline. The kids spend a lot of time in there. It was a lovely gift from a neighbor, and we have utilized it well. They spend lots of time burning energy. And back here is our newest addition, which is our pool. I was a little hesitant about having a pool, mostly because it wasn't above ground, and a lot of the ones that I saw on Pinterest weren't like aesthetically pleasing. But you know, we got kind of creative, and with a little bit of plants and paint, we actually painted that. It makes all the difference, and I will say we use it quite a bit. We've had it 2 weeks, and we've gotten in like almost every day. And that's it for the outside. Let's head on inside. Welcome to our tiny house. It's 260 square feet. It's taken us roughly 3 years to build. We bought it as a shell, and it's currently still under construction. I typically take full control when it comes to the design. I don't really let my husband have too much say, which is not very nice of me. But I typically have black as a primary color, and I play around with the accent colors. In this season, as you can see, we've got a lot of emerald going on with a little bit of white, and I love gold and bronze accents. Some of my favorite stuff. I try to keep the design around maybe bookshop type of feel. Right over here is probably my favorite spot in the whole house. It functions as my Bible study early in the mornings, and it's where we do most of our homeschooling, right at this table. I find that they learn so much better, and sometimes they're in their pajamas and, you know, with their favorite stuffed animal, and so everything's very peaceable here in this space. And right over here is what we would call our kitchen space. Right here is, you know, like cups, coffee. I would recommend for anybody that's deciding to live tiny, counter space is just like the best real estate, and I will say that because I don't have it. We opted to go with a really big farmhouse sink, which Pinterest, I would say, convinced me, and that is like one of my biggest regrets for 2 reasons. One, my dishes become miles high. I would think if we had a small kitchen sink, it would kind of just be a better flow with tiny living, just getting things, get in, get out. And then second, with a very big sink, I have forfeited additional counter space, which is just highly necessary. If I were to do this again, and I'll say we probably will, I would get as small as possible of a sink. Others might argue with me on that, but I would definitely go with a 13 by 13 sink. This is probably one of the bigger challenges, is having small fridge space. But on the flip side, I would say that there's like a lot less waste with a tiny fridge, because we know exactly what we're purchasing, we know exactly what we're going to consume, and there's not that much left over at the end of the week. So that I do love. Cabinet space is absolutely necessary. It's been another challenge of ours. I think we've done fairly well for the last 3 years, but it is definitely something that I could see us putting additional cabinets, because there's just like never enough as far as pantry space. Like food and plates, that's not allowed. That shouldn't be allowed, but it is because that's what we got. So I make it work. If you'll come right over here and you'll notice again, we don't actually have a stove. We usually do a tabletop stove, and we like to put that away. We just don't like it to be a little bit of an eyesore. But that has not been a huge challenge for me because I'm not that big of a cook. So I'm a little bit of a practical cooker, and I think that works for me. But for someone that is just an avid cook and just loves their kitchen, this may be a little constricting. I really wanted like a cool backsplash. And now we didn't actually go through tile because this is going to be temporary. We have plans to rip this out in the future. So this is actually just a peel and stick, which you'd never know. I got that suggestion from another tiny homer, and I'm pretty satisfied with it. I think it looks pretty realistic and I love it. I'm 32. I am a mama to 2 beautiful boys and wife to an amazing husband. I've been in school about 2.5 years now. I go to Harvard Extension School, which is the virtual option of Harvard, and I'm studying literature and creative writing. And the flexibility of the virtual school just perfectly coincides with our lifestyle right now, and I'm having a lot of fun. Ivan and I met in 8th grade, and we were 14 years old, and he told me that he was gonna marry me, and I said, yeah, right. Before we decided to live tiny, our life looked completely different. I was a makeup artist. I worked for theme parks like Disneyland, Knott's Scary Farm, and my husband was a city truck driver. We are city people through and through. We were completely comfortable with our lives. We were in a condo, so it was as city living as you could get. 2nd-story building right on a main highway. It was right on Harbor Boulevard. So it was like night and day for this. I guess you could call it a vision. I kind of felt it in my heart that God was calling us to specifically live tiny and live out of state. And I kind of looked at that situation like, I don't want to do that. Ivan didn't want to do that. We were familiar with tiny homes because of Pinterest, Instagram, and we had watched Tiny House Nation on Netflix. And you know, it's fun to watch, but I didn't want one, you know? That's a big lifestyle change. And like I said, we were very satisfied with our lives. But if God is going to tell me to do something, I will do it. I have greatly appreciated living simply, and that's not something that I would have foreseen before. I am a very not simple person when that comes to my hair, my makeup, the things I like in my house. And to just be forcibly simplified has been amazing. And that goes, I would think, for the 4 of us. You know, my children have now played with things that are more simple. We spend so much time outdoors just because this type of living just forces you to live outdoors, and that's not something that we were used to, and I see the benefit of that. I appreciate that we appreciate the little things now. We are just so content in simple things like spending time together, and just even if it's just eating outside and barbecuing. And I know that sounds so silly, but it forces you to slow down. And coming from a city and living a very fast-paced life, I don't think that that is talked about enough and appreciated enough. And right over here is our bathroom. Dun dun dun. You should be very afraid because this is what we've spent the most amount of time renovating, and it is just a never-ending giant. We just gutted our shower. We had a 36 by 36 shower, which was great for the purpose of space. That was really working for us. But our children desired a bath, you know, because they'd gone to a hotel, they found a bath, and they wanted a bath. So my husband, being as great as he is, we decided to just install a bath. We have no prior experience on how to do a bath, but we did it. So that's right over here. And because of that demolition, we have yet to rip out this side of the bathroom and do any of the flooring. So that is what that looks like right now. Right here we have our 2 pets, which are Bowser and Speedo. For the person that doesn't know a whole lot of plumbing, plumbing was very challenging for us. I won't take credit for that. My husband did most of the work, but there's nothing you can't learn from YouTube, because that's what we've done. YouTube after YouTube, and we just trial and error. That's what it is. Anybody can do trial and error. As far as like trim and stuff like that, those are the things that I think we need to work on, is just finishing touches. And if you follow me right over here, stepping out of the bathroom, we walk into our living room. And this is actually where the boys sleep. This kind of pulls out and becomes a giant queen sized. So that is where they sleep for now. I will say this area of the house has shifted quite a bit. We have had maybe 3 or 4 different variations of sleeping quarters, and that has grown as they have. So when they were very little, you know, we were fine with like a little bassinet, you know, space like that. But now they are long and they sleep crazy. And so it's nice to have this like giant queen size space for them. And so this is working just for right now. Our future plans are to update the lofts and finally get those safe and secure and put, you know, railing up and have a full complete play space and sleeping quarters for them. But that would require a ladder and a way to get there. So, you know, bit by bit, when you're doing everything out of your own budget, you just got to be patient. This is like our living space. So it's kind of like they live in our living space, and we'll just go back to a regular sized couch, something a little bit more comfortable that doesn't have the pull out. And yeah, it'll just fully function as our living room. And right over here is our closet. The closet space is also one of the factors of the tiny house that has changed quite a bit. You know, we have gone from dressers to cabinets to floating shelving for our clothes, and that one's always something that's very hard to tame, is clothing space. And I think that would be fine for like 1 or 2 people, but we're a family of 4. So that is quite a bit of clothing and quite a bit of laundry, which I have so nicely put away for you. But this has been working for us for now. This was kind of just like dead space. And so once we installed the tabletop, we thought, hey, we had this like underneath space, and we figured what would we do with that? And that's when we decided to make it a closet, and it's been working. So that's been great. Toy space. Anybody that has kids and has a tiny home, toys are always going to be an issue, and you've got to be very creative in storing those toys. So that has changed a lot for us, but as of right now, we've got a little bit of toys in storage, but right here we've just got kind of one of these like little Amazon things where we store books and toys, and keeping that tidy is always a challenge, but it works because it's at their level and kind of encourages them to clean up for themselves. Right over here is just one more extension of our closet space, and I love the aesthetic of it. And lastly is our bedroom loft right up here. So this is our bedroom space, and as you can tell, it's very tiny, but so far it's been working great. I love that the window is right there. It's my favorite thing because you can see the tree, and it, you know, you wake up in the morning and there it is, and it's my favorite. And I love our little book nook right here. It's one of my favorite sections as well. But this is one of the areas too that needs a significant amount of work, that I would love to just get it a little more comfy, you know, a little bit more to my liking. Just like detail work. So we haven't framed any of our windows in the house, so I would love to put some kind of ornate trim on that. The kids, it's funny, the more we talk about it and think about it, they don't have any memory of us living in a normal house. They're thriving and they're happy, and I would argue with anyone that would say that tiny living is not healthy or, you know, brings joy to a child, because we see them thriving completely. They spend 70 to 80% of their time outdoors, just because it's just a natural flow of things when you're in a tiny home. Is we're inside, you get bored, you go outside, and then you get hot and you come inside, and then you go back outside. So we spend so much of our time outdoors, and that is not by my push, it is just like natural. And I think that that is very healthy and contributes to them thriving, is the amount of outdoor space that they have and that they get. We paid $11,000 for the shell, and we found that on tinyhomelistings.com. And I wish that I knew the exact number of what has been invested into this place. If I had a guess, we've probably put about $10,000 into it. And that is not saying that it is finished. It still needs significant work, but we've gotten it to the point where it's comfortable. So I think all in all, we're about maybe $20,000 in as of right now, which is crazy, because that's like half the cost of my car. We had zero build experience. I am a DIYer, and I love to paint, and I love renovating pieces of furniture, things like that, but zero experience as far as like construction. My husband as well. I would say when we started, he was mildly handy. I mean, he could hold a drill and a saw, but no, not to the extent of what's necessary to build a tiny home. But looking at him now, that is one of my favorite things that I love to compare, is that he has grown in his skills like so much. He's like so great at building things. His just craftsmanship is just amazing, to the point where people have now started hiring him as a handyman. And I'm like, that's hilarious, because 3 years ago, if you would have seen us, like, we can't build anything. So that's a great skill that he's learned, and it's been fun watching him. I think the most unexpected thing was how many things I absolutely didn't need. And I'm pretty sure a lot of tiny homers mention that. Maybe they don't, but even someone that's like me, I don't consider myself a hoarder, but there was so many things that I had refused to let go of, and you're forced here to be very selective about your possessions and your belongings. And when I compare that to my Bible reading, it's like so obvious to me why we're supposed to shed off possessions and why they take hold of us. It is another level of liberation to not have items, you know, like holding you down. So we could essentially pick up and leave at any moment, and it's just like very freeing. It's like taking a breath of fresh air. Like, you're like, whoa, like my time is free somehow, and my space is free, and it's almost like it just like frees up brain space. And in that freeing of space, you have the opportunity to really like look at all your cards and really pick what you're passionate about and what is important to you. And, you know, you're just being more intentional with your life choices. So in the simplicity of living tiny, I became a homeschool mom. That was absolutely not on my radar. I looked at homeschooling like homeschoolers were weird, and you know, it's like nothing I ever want to do. But I have said that about a lot of things about living tiny. I think people that live tiny are weird, and here we are, you know. It turns out I'm the weirdest one here. So I am perfectly satisfied with our square footage right now. We're 260 square feet, but we have plans to adopt in the future, and adoption is actually not very feasible in a tiny home. So we have purchased this plot of land, and so our plan is to build a larger home on this property, and I think we're shooting for 750 square feet. That will be in the next maybe 2-3 years, and then we will move forward with our adoption.
Thank you for watching our video and for stopping by Tiny House Expedition. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Christian. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And for more tiny home tours and stories, click the videos below.
And join us on Instagram for bonus content,
including face-to-face conversations with us. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.